Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, January 6, 2021. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines today confirmed 16 new COVID-19 cases. A release from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said 5 of these cases are non-national adult travelers who arrived from the USA and the UK between December 26th and January 3rd with negative PCR tests. NEMO said subsequent testing during the quarantine period revealed positive PCR test results and that these travelers remain isolated until cleared by 2 negative results. It was also noted that 11 adult nationals without a recent travel history have tested positive for COVID-19, bringing the total to 28. NEMO said 10 can be linked to previously identified positive cases, and the 11th is being investigated with contact tracing, linking, and testing related to all these local cases ongoing. NEMO is urging persons with flu-like symptoms such as sore throat, fever, cough to go to the identified health institutions and clinics for testing and care. NEMO said persons and their companions seeking care at any medical care facility must wear facial coverings, and that patients are also advised that they will be screened for COVID-19. The public is also strongly urged to continue to wear facial coverings, sanitize their hands regularly, and maintain physical distancing when possible. St. Vincent and the Grenadines now has recorded 149 COVID-19 cases, 100 persons have recovered, and 49 remain active. NEMO said all positive cases will continue to be isolated until cleared by 2 negative tests. The Minister, Permanent Secretary, medical officers, and 2 members of the administrative staff of the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and the Environment have all been advised to quarantine for a period of 5 days, ending Saturday, January 9th, 2021, out of abundance of caution. A statement today from National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said the advice given is a quarantine based on contact tracing initiated during the evening of Tuesday, January 5th, after a receipt of positive COVID-19 PCR results by a relative of the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and the Environment staff member. NEMO said that the minister and the 4 officers of the ministry, having been in close contact with a positive individual 6 days previously, were tested during the evening of January 5th and found negative for COVID-19. It is said, as per protocol, for persons exposed to the positive person, they were advised to immediately quarantine. The statement said that the Minister, Sinclair Jimmy Prince, and the Permanent Secretary, Cuthbert Knights, and Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Kiza Beach will continue to work remotely from their quarantine locations. Amidst the COVID-19 clusters and local cases, SVG persons are still allowed to take part in indoor and outdoor activities, but with limited numbers. At a news conference hosted by the Ministry of Health yesterday, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Kiza Beach said only 200 persons should be in an indoor activity and 400 at an outdoor event, with protocols in place such as having each person wearing a face mask and registering persons in attendance. Dr. Kiza Beach said that churches have been trying their best to comply with the protocols, which is commendable.
Churches, I think from reports and from the queries coming from the churches, they are attempting to comply. As always, you would have some outliers, but in the main, they are extremely concerned and they are trying to do their best in terms of complying. I know one reverend said to me that he was going to inform the congregation that anybody who had been sick, anybody who wasn't feeling well, anybody who had a relative who had come in and then they felt unwell, that they needed to report it immediately to the task force. So I think the churches are working with us, with Vincentians, to try and control this. We are asking that persons use their masks, they allow for physical distancing, turn off the air condition where possible. When you're inside, let the air move through.
The CMO said the new entry protocol took effect on Monday, January 4th, 2021, where 9 was introduced.
Protocol requires that persons coming from Barbados, which has now moved to a high-risk category, that they must stay 10 days in a tourism authority, Ministry of Health approved facility, hotel, and that they must come with a 72-hour or younger test. They will be rechecked during day 7 to day 4 and released. We have also changed the management of persons in the medium category. Those persons, when they come, would no longer be allowed to go home, but rather they must stay in an approved hotel for 5 days. And then they would proceed home and complete any further quarantine deemed necessary.
Dr. Kizabich further noted that there is a new generic bubble protocol and work quarantine protocol for resorts across the country.
We have other protocols, the bubble protocols, and just for clarification, there is a generic bubble protocol for resorts. However, each resort will adjust that protocol depending on their resources, and that adjusted protocol is submitted to the committee, and then that will be approved. As it is now, we have Mustique, Canawan, Mandarin, Soho House, and Canawan Properties, along with Beckwith Beach Hotel, being approved bubble resort facilities. We also have the existing work quarantine protocols, which are utilized when we have persons needing to come in for emergency services. Otherwise, we have protocols that would be adapted as necessary, depending on the discretion of the medical officer of health or myself, the CMO.
Meanwhile, it was noted at Tuesday's news conference that 2 hotels which were found in breach of the Ministry of Health protocols were removed from the list of approved quarantine facilities.
Over the last 2 weeks, we have removed 2 facilities from the list of approved hotels because of reports of non-compliance, especially in terms of people being allowed to visit. So 2 facilities have been removed, and we have given instructions to the teams. So before last week, we had given instructions to the teams to do a review of the existing properties and to remind proprietors of the importance of sticking to the protocols. If we have other facilities, properties, where we receive good, strong evidence of them not complying, they will be removed.
Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves is urging the public not to vandalize the stations and equipment being installed in various locations across the island to assist with the monitoring of the La Soufrière volcano. Speaking on NBC Radio this morning, the Prime Minister echoed the statements of Professor Richard Robertson, who is leading the team from the UE Seismic Research Center installing the equipment. Dr. Gonsalves said previous equipment were tampered with and destroyed, and while the expense is a factor, the purpose of the equipment is what's extremely important. He also appealed to persons not to visit the volcano. He shared the experience of Professor Robertson's recent visit as an example of why it's currently dangerous to do so.
He has asked me to continue to urge people, well, not to trouble the equipment which they're putting down, not to vandalize it, nothing at all, just leave it. And secondly, to advise people again not to go up there. He went up, he said, in a special suit and also with a mask, and he said that he found it very challenging, and he's fit. You see, Professor Roberts, he's a fit man. I'm joining the chorus and asking people for their own health to stay away.
And as part of his sensitization program, members of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, met with residents of Oya who are in the danger zone to discuss their level of preparedness in the event of an evacuation. Residents expressed concerns about security for their homes and livestock if they were to be evacuated. They also questioned how they would be informed about an emergency evacuation order.
Public security would be. People move out of the village and the village left empty. Vandalism probably might step in. What do you have? What plan you have in place for cover people's property, etc.?
How are we going to be allotted of it? Because suppose it happened in let's say in the middle of the night when you're sleeping. How are we going to be allotted that there's an evacuation order?
So you guys need to come together, Labour and NDP, all of you doing the same thing. I am an NDP woman and I have no enemy. Who want to hold me for enemy, that's their choice. But you guys need to come together now.
Responding to questions by a resident, the NEMO director gave an insight of what they are doing to ensure residents are safe should there be an evacuation order. Parliamentary Representative for North Windward, Montgomery Daniel, was also on hand and responded to the residents' views on putting aside political issues.
Inform the people of Oya, we were already in fancy this evening, that we are here in the event that there is an eruption at the Las Sofia volcano. It is not for NDP or for ULP, it is for all of us.
And persons in the community also will be given radios, so we'll have to check those radios to see if it's compatible with the system. But based on the frequency, we should still be able to receive drawing. Yes, the Ministry of Agriculture is making provisions for you to be able to move your animals. You might not be able to move them at the same time with you, but once the evacuation order is given, the Ministry is making provisions where you can actually take your...
The series of community meetings will continue tomorrow in Sandy Bay, which is another community in the red zone of the volcano. Richmond is the furthest community on the leeward side of the island, and it's closest to the La Soufrière volcano. At the Richmond Vale Academy, which houses students and teachers locally and internationally, they are on the alert for any eventuality. Director of the Academy, Stina Herberg, said all residents have been briefed on their evacuation plan should an order be given. Herberg said temporary accommodations have also been identified.
We have about 25 residents here at the Academy, and we have located rooms in Valiabu and Barley. So in case of a need of evacuation, we will arrive to these places. A few from St. Vincent are here, but mostly we have students from Europe and North America and one from Africa, or two from Africa actually.
Herberg said they continue to monitor the volcano and are listening to the authorities.
Every now and then we'll smell a bit of sulfur, but I mean, you can see a little bit of evaporation smoke sometimes, but otherwise I think what I can see from the volcano compared to what the scientists can see is uncomparable, so we have to follow these advices. We are continuing all our daily activities, but we meet and have more briefings and updates depending on what news we can have coming from NEMO.
Herberg said an evacuation plan has also been made for the animals that are being reared at the Academy.
Well, it's kind of hard to say. We have worked out evacuation plans also for most of the animals, but we're still working on what do we do with the chicken. Okay, we are well concerned about the farm and the activities and the produce, because it's taken a long time to get the results from the farm that we have today. Otherwise, of course, if there are damages to the building, but what can we do? We can take care the best we can of the values, but most important is to take care of the people living here so they can continue and serve in St. Vincent, because that is what our students and the teachers are here for.
In light of the threats of the La Soufrière volcano and COVID-19 situation in the country, Local psychologist Dr. Joselle Miller has suggested grounding exercises as one way which persons can deal with anxiety and sudden panic attacks.
To manage yourself, monitor what is going on with you as an individual. If you feel that you are so anxious that you're not breathing properly, take some time to do what we call the grounding exercises, which means that you should sit, plant your feet firmly on the ground. If you're sitting on a chair that has handles, hold on to it and basically remind yourself that you're okay. Plant yourself against something that is very sturdy and take some deep breaths. Breathe in, breathe out slowly so that your body goes into full calmness.
Dr. Miller said sleeping is also important and warns of the dangers of overthinking.
Think positively. I am okay. I am going to be okay. I am in control. And look around you and understand that you're in a safe environment. It's important for persons to sleep, to rest, because when persons are not sleeping, then your brain has not received the necessary rest that is needed for it to function properly.
Dr. Miller said that 2020 was an unexpected year where a lot of uncontrollable and unexpected things have happened. However, she encourages persons to have a positive outlook for 2021.
And I know persons going into 2021 may have such a heightened apprehension because you're now thinking, boy, if 2020 was like this, I don't know what to expect. But at the end of the day, we still have to have a positive outlook. Once you have life, you have hope. Always tell yourself that. And every day that you open your eyes and you take a breath, know that that's an opportunity for you to be better and to do better. We don't know what tomorrow holds, but what our anthem says, whatever the future holds, our faith in God will see us through, and we have to connect with that. Connect to your source and understand that even when you don't know, trust the one who knows. Trust the one that can see us through all of the hardships and even the good times, and make sure that it is not just that we rely on God when things are bad. I think too often that happens. When things are bad, everybody goes to church, but then as soon as the calm comes, suddenly everybody goes back to the same old, nonsense of doing this, doing that, being bad, being wicked, whatever. It's about time that we take stock of our life.
The Ministry of Education is using this week to prepare students and teachers for online teaching in the event that the reopening of school is further delayed. In a telephone interview with SVG-TV News today, Minister of Education Curtis King said that even though the Ministry of Education plans for a reopening of school on January 11th, they recognize that because of the circumstances facing the country with COVID-19, dengue fever, and the volcano, school can be further delayed or can be interrupted.
School is scheduled to reopen on Monday, 11th January 2021. As you would recall, school should have been open on Monday, 4th January. Unfortunately, we had certain developments that basically forced us, on the advice of the Ministry of Health and out of an abundance of caution, to delay the opening of school to Monday 11th. But even as we plan for the reopening of school on Monday 11th January 2021, we do recognize that given the circumstances facing us as a country with regard to COVID-19 pandemic, the volcano, and yes, the dengue fever situation, that at any given time, school could be first, the reopening of school could be delayed.
King said that the ministry had a meeting with senior education officials about online teaching and will have a virtual meeting with principals tomorrow.
During this week, the Ministry of Education has been working towards the delivery of instructions via online teaching in the event that school is interrupted or is delayed from opening. Okay? Now, what we have been doing, first we had a meeting on Monday of this week among senior education officials to examine where we are at and how best we could move forward with regards to online delivery of instruction. Secondly, coming out of that meeting, it was decided that there would be a virtual meeting. Well, it should be virtual meetings with first the secondary school principal and secondly the primary school principal.
The Education Minister said they have also embarked on some training for the school administrators and are preparing teachers to use various e-learning platforms.
After that, the ministry will be embarking on some training of the administrators at the school level. Those administrators who are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that whatever e-learning platform is used is up and running and the teachers are prepared and capable to access and utilize these platforms. What we did, we appointed administrators at each school. So these administrators, they were trained sometime last year, and during this week, they are being provided with a refresher training program.
Meanwhile, President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robertson, said that the union is happy that schools remain closed this week because the teachers have expressed discomfort of going back into their classroom with an increase in local COVID-19 cases. Robinson said that it is the responsibility of the union to ensure everything is in place for teachers and student safety.
They stated the views of the various structures of the union, and the teachers were very uncomfortable to go back to school. And so I had a conversation with the Ministry of Education, who indicated that they are relying on information from the Ministry of Health. And so we are very happy that school was rescheduled for later reopening, because it's important that we pay attention to the cluster of COVID that is upon our shores, to ensure that our teachers are safe, the students are safe, and any person who would have interaction with the schools. It's very important that we maintain the principle of safety for all. And that has been our slogan from the Teachers Union. We advocate for safety, we advocate for health. And so we are very happy that school did not reopen on the 4th of January as was planned.
The SVGTU president said that had schools been reopened Monday, January 4th, they would not have been properly sanitized, which he said is very important at this time.
It's important that we pay attention to the sanitization of our schools, okay? Because based on the Education Act, schools ought to be clean, properly clean every term. But now we have COVID upon us, plus dengue. There are a lot of other requirements to do much more frequent cleaning. So that is important. So if school would have opened the 4th, it meant that a lot of schools were not clean as yet, properly clean and sanitized. Okay? So I'm happy that the authorities would have gone back to the drawing board and would have assessed the whole readiness of school and do the right thing.
An application by the Governor General, represented by the Attorney General, to appeal a decision of the court that has no jurisdiction to entertain the claim that Leon Biggerbig Samuel is the legal owner to Crown lands at Roboca has been denied by High Court Judge Justice Esco Henry. The decision was handed down on December 16, 2020. Today, the lawyers representing Samuel held a news conference to give an update on the court matter. Akin John said this is a second victory for their client.
The Governor General's application for leave to appeal the decision dated June 24, 2020 is dismissed. Second, the Governor General's application for a stay of the June 24, 2020 order is dismissed. Thirdly, the Governor General shall pay to Bigger Cement and Aggregate Incorporated costs pursuant to CPR 65.11.
Jomo Thomas said he is confident of the case going through its finality and lauded Samuel for continuing to challenge the government for his rights.
What this shows is that this government, once it locks its teeth into an issue or an individual, it is prepared to attempt to economically assassinate that person, to grind them to the ground, to ensure that they are left sometimes penniless. Because as it relates to this case, we know that initially Bigger Bakes' property was improperly closed down on environmental grounds. And now, the final assault was to try to take away the man's property. And his legal team is here to ensure that that does not happen.
Samuel, who was also at the news conference, said that it has not been easy for him as a businessman and that he is pleased with his legal team who continue to fight on his behalf in court.
From the time we went into court last year, 2019, the year before 2019 with this matter, and I see the way the case has been handled by the team, it made me a little bit more relaxed, and I'm now in a position where I could focus more on how to survive economically.
An application for assessment of the costs to the court must be done before January 29th by Bigger Cement and Aggregate Incorporated, owned by Samuel, to be assessed if there was no agreement by both parties. Prime Minister Dr. Alf Gonsalves today paid tribute to the late Jamaican tourism mogul and founder of the Sandals Resort, Gordon Butch Stewart, who passed away on Monday, January 4th, in the U.S. after ailing privately for some time. During his weekly appearance on NBC Radio Today, PM Gonsalves described the self-made billionaire as a quintessential Caribbean man.
I got to know Butch Stewart around 2000 when he was seeking to have investment in Canawan. In the area of tourism and hospitality, he has built this extraordinary brand. That alone has made him iconic. In a sense, what Bob Marley did to reggae globally is what Butch Stewart has done to hotels globally.
The Prime Minister also used the opportunity to extend condolences to Stewart's family and friends.
A person like Butch Stewart comes by once every 100 years, particularly in our small societies. I certainly miss a friend. The region has missed an iconic hotelier, an extraordinary personality, a quintessential Caribbean man. On behalf of the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, my own personal behalf and that of my family, I extend condolences to his widow and immediate family and friends. May he rest in peace.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor is offering 3 of the island's fisheries centers for lease: Barley, Kaliakwa and Canawana. The announcement by the ministry says the entity is wishing to express an interest or asked to submit an application along with a business proposal by January 27, 2021. The ministry also announced that it is seeking persons wishing to obtain training in safety at sea and longline fishing to register by calling 433-0027. That's 433-0027. And applicants range between the age of 18 to 50 years old and must be a competent swimmer. The deadline for expression of interest is January 14, 2021.